As an intro to this video, I would just like to say that I did read one of Ayn Rand's non-fictional books back in 2000. I also saw most of the major films about her novels, such as the black and white version of The Fountainhead way back, and Atlas Shrugged Parts 1 through 3 fairly recently. I also saw a made-for-HBO TV movie back in the late 90s about her life. I do have some background doing research on her and reading up on her, and I'm going to refer to an outline in this video that includes most of my major research and ideas about her. So here we go. Who was really Ayn Rand? Well, Ayn Rand, in my view, was a really good writer when it comes to entertainment value. She did bring up some really great points about government waste, government control over economics, and personal freedom. I found myself agreeing with maybe about a third of her views since I was young, but that's about it. It gets a lot more complicated with me after that. Keep in mind she was writing fiction in theory. Her slant or bias was part of the entertainment value. Writers to a certain degree are intellectual entertainers. She actually started out as an actor. A lot of people don't know that. Any concept or idea can go into radical extremes, and I do view that as a problem with the Ayn Rand movement going back to the 1950s in America, and I'm going to talk about that more in this video. Now I'm going to talk about the background or the bio of Ayn Rand. I read Capitalism, the Unknown Ideal, which was published in the 1960s in America. I read it further back, and you can see some of her bias in this non-fictional book. She was born in Russia. A lot of people don't know that. She was technically not born here. Lenin's Bolsheviks took her family's property and business when she was a kid. So yeah, she was going to have very biased views from a very young age about life, authority, the government, and economics. This is all on Wikipedia. I'm totally against communism personally, but you still have to have government in some liberal policy areas such as a social safety net, pollution, and climate control due to climate change. According to Wiki, Ayn Rand was on Social Security and Medicare in 1976, 6 years before she died in 1982. Quite shocking for somebody who railed against the welfare state her whole life. I heard in college when her books were not making much money anymore in the 1970s, she essentially had to go on welfare. It is very hard for somebody like me, that's a political scientist, to take a lot of her ideas seriously when where she ended up in life was completely different than the ideas that she propagated fairly ruthlessly her entire life. It ended up being, in a lot of ways, a great paradox. Many people may not know this. Tony Robbins' ideas were a lot better when it comes to motivational speaking. Many people viewed her as a motivational speaker and a leader of a movement, and she was. I personally think Neil Clark Warren and Elaine Aron were better in this area, if you're into that. I also think Taylor Caldwell was a more practical conservative. She was also a famous novelist. I even think Barry Goldwater had better ideas on many social and economic issues, if you're into that. I'm not a big fan of him, but I think he provided a better argument than Ayn Rand did. I was a big fan of Taylor Caldwell. Technically, Rand was an objectivist. She was not a traditional conservative or a libertarian. She essentially loathed the Republican Party and was not a fan of the libertarian movement. She wanted to get rid of the government wherever she could, and she was not really a traditional conservative whatsoever. But you still need government in some areas. You still need a social safety net, in my view, at the federal level. We still need the programs that FDR and LBJ got passed, such as Social Security, SSI, disability, Medicare, and Medicaid, to name a few. People will probably be more dependent on them due to being kicked out of the workforce at younger ages now due to ageism. And there's going to be massive job elimination now by AI and other technology. No one is born in a log cabin. No one is totally self-made. You have a level of opportunity based on the class level you are from in America. Sad but true. The myth of hustle culture and the self-made person permeates our society. True freedom isn't real. Otherwise, you would have anarchy. Only approximate justice and approximate opportunity exists in our society. I think that's part of the appeal of Ayn Rand, the myth of the self-made person. Most rich people have inherited their wealth about 80% of the time. Many people may not know that. Ayn Rand's ideas are simply not reality most of the time. If that were the case, or if that were true, why isn't everyone a millionaire? Well, I'll tell you, because being rich is mainly an accident of inheritance, and there simply isn't enough money out there for everybody to be rich. Nobody can just will themselves into getting everything they want in life when it comes to money or romance. Ayn Rand was a good entertainer as a novelist. She was a big pusher of free speech and a supporter of that, like Charlie Kirk and Taylor Caldwell. She was right about that, as they were. She was also a mythical figure, meaning she was an entertainer and an icon of pop culture. There's a lot of ideas out there. That doesn't necessarily mean they're all good ideas. She was a mythical figure. So therefore, a lot of her ideas are not reality. People read way too much into her in America, in my opinion. This free speech issue with her is important. She was a big supporter of that, and that is a large part of her legacy. But some of the ideas are not good ideas, and she was a mythical figure, and people definitely read way too much into all of this on a holistic level when it comes to her ideas. Once again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration. There has been another mass shooting in America, in Dallas today. There's not a lot of information on what has happened so far. There has been a mass shooting and a mass casualty event at an ICE facility in Dallas. Our thoughts should go out to the victims and any of the people connected to the victims at this time. Unfortunately, this is another day in America when it comes to mass shootings. Another tragedy, another horrible tragedy in America. Please keep them in your thoughts. Once again, thank you for your time. It's free to subscribe.